hello there. This is Operances, and today we are taking a very improbable scenario. Not an impossible one, but since I'm very young at the moment, I don't think it's going to happen soon. It will happen, of course, eventually, hopefully, but it's not gonna happen right now. But in this scenario, I am the world's most famous director, and I am given free reign and the rights to direct a live action Spider Man show. And I am tasked with casting actors to play the villains for Spider Man in my show. Who will I choose which actors for which characters and which villains? Let's find out. Willem Dafoe's portrayal of Norman Osborn in the Spider-Man 2002 film is unforgettable and extraordinary. However, if I was to choose another actor for my Spider-Man TV show, I would probably choose Hugo Weaving. I think Hugo Weaving looks even better as the Green Goblin. He of course doesn't have really the facial features, but he definitely does have the shape of the head. And I think he does have that very craziness to him to portray the Green Goblin, the psychopathic, and also he really does make that good businessman, like I'm really businessy, and I know how to think about profits and stuff like that, so I think that's a good choice. Kurt Connors is a very sad and tragic character, as he was turned into the villain known as the Lizard by an experiment that went wrong. And I think that an actor who can portray both a very lovely scientist and a very scary lizard is Bob Bergen, as even though I haven't seen much of him, just his physical appearance, and I've heard his voice as Lamassu in the Clone Wars, I really think he can play this role well. I think he really fits by both his looks, appearance, voice, and acting skills. The Shocker is a very strong and very fitnessy villain in the Spider-Man universe. So I would suggest someone who kind of looks like this bully slash fitnessy and very strong man. And I think Chris Zilka, who played Flash Thompson in the Amazing Spider-Man movie, would be a great choice. I think he really looked the part, especially when I saw him as Flash Thompson. I instantly thought, well, that would also make a good Shocker. So I think Chris Zilka would be a good Shocker. Now, Mark Raxton, who later became the villain Molten Man, is a very tragic character. He may not be in certain comics and representations, but from what I saw of him in the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show, he's a very sad character. His story is very kind of depressing, and he's very emotional. And I think the actor who portrays it the best is Ezra Miller. He looks the part, he really acts the part. I think he really is this character, he belongs to him, and I'm surprised he hasn't played him yet. I mean, he played Credence Barebone in the Fantastic Beasts movies, and I think that was very close to how the Molten Man, aka Max Raxton, is supposed to be represented. So I think he should play him. Venom is one of the most popular antagonists in the Spider-Man franchise. However, another very interesting part about him is who's under the symbiote suit, Eddie Brock. And of course, Venom in the TV show will be completely CGI with parts of a costume. Just how it blends together depends on practical and CGI. However, Eddie Brock will probably be played by the actor who played Flash Thompson in the Spider-Man film of 2002, John Manganiello. And I think he really fits because when he played Flash Thompson in the Spider-Man 2002, he really had that bully thing to him, that kind of, oh, I'm so cool, I'm like, yeah. And I think he should have it right now, and I think that really is the representation of Eddie Brock, and he kind of looks like the part. Carnage is a crazy, over-the-top psychopathic villain who is another symbiote, and under the suit is the man known as Cletus Cassidy. And I think who better to portray this incredible guy than Jim Carrey himself. Jim Carrey is very well known for his over-the-top and kind of psychopathic slash comedic performances, and I think this will be a perfect fit for him, and I think he's gonna love it. I mean, he loves being over the top, and I think he'll love this performance. Mysterio, also known as Quentin Beck, is basically a villain who is an illusionist. And I think Andy Serkis, the king of motion capture, would be pretty cool in this role. Because, first of all, he's a very illusionist. I mean, he portrayed so many CGI characters without barely anyone knowing his real face. And I think that would be a very good tribute to his real life, where he is basically playing all these CGI characters. And also, I think he does get the role. Although there are a lot of faces for this character and he looks completely different in different versions, I think he really looks like the 1994 cartoon version, although he doesn't have yellow hair. Sergei Kravenov, a Russian villain, also known as Kraven the Hunter, is one of the villains of Spider-Man, who is this very scary hunter with a mustache and everything, and I think that Mickey Rourke would be a perfect choice. He portrayed Ivan Vanko in the Iron Man 2 movie, and he looked very similar to how Sergei Kravenov looks in the comics. And I think he has that very crazy and that very harsh and very brutal and huntery aspect to him, which I think would perfectly translate into this character. Tombstone is a very interesting villain, especially in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon. He's very philosophical, and though he does have a lot of strength, he's a very interesting character because he really is this kind of very smart menace. And I think who can portray him better than Lars Mikkelsen? Lars Mikkelsen voiced the very smart villain Grand Admiral Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels, but as far as I know, he hasn't been in live action. So I think he would be very good as this particular character. Though you may know the Red Skull as one of the villains of Captain America, he also appeared in the Spider-Man 1994 TV show. And though he wasn't the real Red Skull there, but rather his son, I think in my TV show he's gonna be the real one. And I think his very psychopathic but also very genius character could be played by Mark Hamill himself. Mark Hamill in the past has voiced both Hobgoblin and the Joker, and also the Red Skull in one TV show. So I think it'd only be fitting for Mark Hamill to portray him in live action with lots of makeup on his face. I don't think Mark Hamill had ever worn a lot of makeup in any movie. So I think it's gonna be a good experience for him, and I think he's gonna like it, and I think we're all gonna like him as this portrayal. Parafino is a villain from the first ever Spider-Man TV show, and he only appeared in one episode, and he's not very popular. In fact, I don't think anyone right now knows him, but I loved this character. I loved the concept behind him being this kind of psychopathic man trapping people in wax and making wax statues out of them in his museum. And I think his creepy looking face and his body structure would be very well portrayed by Timothy Spall. Timothy Spall is the actor who portrayed the scary guy Peter Pettigrew in Harry Potter, and also Mr. Poe in the 2004 series of Unfortunate Events. And I think he just fits this character by everything, the appearance especially. The Kingpin is my favorite villain in Spider-Man of all time. I absolutely love this character. And you know why I don't like the news portrayals of him? It's because he's more of strong and ugh! But in the Spider-Man, he was this genius, this wise villain, manipulative, very calm, and always very genius just. And what really made him this great villain is how he was voiced perfectly by Roscoe Lee Brown. Nowadays, Kingpin is his newest voices are very like this, but Roscoe Lee Brown voiced him like this. And I think that's just why he made it so perfect. And I think we need to recreate it. For the body of the Kingpin, for the actual portrayal, I would choose Kevin Michael Richardson just because he really has the physical appearance, even though he's black. He would wear a lot of makeup to make him look white and make his body even fatter and more large and his hands larger just to make him this enormous being like the Kingpin really is. And then I would replace his voice, because it is kind of very like that, with Corey Burton. I mean, Corey Burton's voice is very similar to the Kingpin. He can really do an impression of that. Like, I heard him doing other characters, which is very like Kingpin. I mean, listen to this.
Count Dooku and the Separatists are promising immediate aid and a resolution to the blockade, which means that either you are behind it or Greedo is working for someone else.
And now listen to Kingpin.
Yes, but Silvermane is no longer a threat. But Vanessa, I love you. Thank you for obtaining the tablet for me. What? I said get rid of it. The sight of it sickens me.
So I would have Kevin Michael Richardson as the body, but all his dialogue replaced by Corey Burton. So yes, these were my picks for the villains of the Spider-Man universe. And I'm probably not gonna direct the show anytime soon. I mean, I'm still a teenager, but hopefully when I grow up, I will, and I'm sure of it because I'm gonna become a famous director. And hopefully all these people are still alive and still informed to that time. Tell me who you think would fit these villains and others who I've missed in the comments below. Thank you. Over and Sis is out.